No one was supposed to say her name. No one was supposed to connect the dots. And no one, absolutely no one, was supposed to open this door. But once a secret starts breathing, it never stays buried. For years, people whispered that something in Meghan's past didn't add up. Not a scandal you could Google. Not a mistake you could spin. Something quieter. Something missing. A blank stretch of time. A ghost year. A silence so loud it felt deliberate. And now, according to explosive claims spreading online, that silence has a name. She is 29 years old. She says she exists. And she says she has proof. This isn't a leaked text or a blurry photo pulled from a forum. According to statements now circulating, this woman claims a court-admissible DNA test links her directly to Meghan Markle and a man named Joe Giuliano, a figure long rumored but never acknowledged. If these claims are true, this isn't just a scandal. It's a narrative collapse. Because the allegation isn't just that Meghan had a past relationship, it's that she had a child and erased her. The internet is on fire because the timeline doesn't scream. It whispers, and whispers are harder to kill. The woman at the center of this claims she was born in the mid-1990s, a period in Meghan's life that has always been curiously thin on detail. No scandals, no photos, no long explanations. Just soft phrases, studying, traveling, family matters. According to the claim, those gaps weren't innocent. They were intentional. And the DNA test? Allegedly clocked at 99.9% probability. That number is doing damage all on its own. Because this isn't about opinion, it's about biology, at least according to the narrative now spreading across private legal statements, online investigations, and whispered briefings. And once biology enters the room, PR walks out. The woman, who says she has spent nearly 3 decades watching her alleged mother rise, describes a life lived in parallel, watching interviews, watching speeches, watching motherhood being performed on a global stage while she remained unacknowledged. She doesn't claim to want money. She doesn't claim to want fame. She claims she wants recognition. And recognition is the one thing that can't be quietly settled. According to her account, she attempted contact privately. Letters, emails, channels that never went public. She says they were ignored, returned unopened, blocked. If true, that detail alone detonates the image of compassion that Meghan has carefully built. Because ignoring strangers is one thing. Ignoring your own alleged child is another. And then there's Joe Giuliano. For decades, he was a rumor with no face, a name scrubbed from search engines, a man never interviewed, never photographed chasing relevance, which is exactly why his alleged involvement now is so dangerous. According to claims circulating with sworn statements attached, Joe Giuliano is no longer silent. He is allegedly supporting the woman's account, saying he was pressured, locked into silence, and convinced that secrecy was the only way forward. Not abandonment, containment. The story being told now suggests NDAs, emotional coercion, and a quiet agreement designed to protect one future at the expense of another. Hollywood over honesty. Ambition over accountability. And if this sounds familiar, it's because critics say the pattern matches everything that followed. Estranged family members, cut off friendships, scorched bridges, all dismissed as coincidences until now. The allegation isn't that Meghan reinvented herself, it's that she erased someone to do it. And this is where the implications start spiraling. Because once Meghan entered royal life, her past wasn't just personal, it became state adjacent. Vetting, background checks, deep dives, intelligence reviews that don't miss parking tickets, let alone children. So either the claim is false or someone knew. And if someone knew, then silence wasn't accidental, it was strategic. That possibility alone reframes everything. Suddenly, palace tensions look different. Suddenly, exits feel less ideological and more urgent. Suddenly, freedom sounds like escape. According to speculation now gaining traction, this secret, if real, would explain the hyper-control, the lawsuits, the obsession with narrative ownership. When your past can end your present, you don't relax. You manage. You preempt. You strike first. The woman making these claims says she watched the royal wedding in silence, watched sermons about family and love while knowing she was the story that couldn't be told. And that's when the internet shifted, because sympathy doesn't follow titles. It follows pain. And suddenly, the woman with no platform had more credibility than the Duchess with every microphone. If this story continues to gain traction, and if more documents surface, this doesn't end in a press release. It ends in courtrooms, depositions, and discovery, the one place PR can't edit. And then there's Prince Harry, because every version of this story ends with the same question: did he know? If he didn't, then this is betrayal at the highest level. If he did, then this is complicity. Either way, the fairy tale fractures. And according to observers watching closely, the silence from Montecito right now is not calm. It's calculated. The kind of silence that comes when every option makes things worse. Because once a secret child enters the conversation, there is no moving on. There is only reckoning. And this is just the opening chapter. In the missing years, the alleged legal structures that kept this quiet, the adoption questions, the potential financial fallout, and why insiders believe this revelation could become the monarchy's cleanest exit strategy yet. The most dangerous moment in any long-buried story isn't the reveal, it's the paperwork. Because rumors can be dismissed, screenshots can be denied, but timelines, affidavits, and sworn statements, those don't blink. And according to the claims now circulating, that's exactly where this is heading. The focus has narrowed to one stretch of time, mid-1995 through late 1997, a period in Meghan Markle's life that looks clean on paper and hollow in detail. School records list continuity. Public narratives suggest normalcy. But people who say they were there describe something else entirely: a sudden absence, a disappearance explained away with vague excuses that were common in the 1990s when families wanted problems handled quietly. The allegation is blunt. She didn't go away to study, she went away to disappear. According to the woman making these claims, that disappearance ends with her birth and a closed-door arrangement designed to keep everything deniable. Not foster care, not an open adoption. Something quieter, controlled, close enough to monitor, far enough to erase. And here's where the story sharpens. Because the claims don't paint this as chaos. They paint it as planning. The allegation suggests a family-managed solution with adults deciding what a teenage girl's future should look like and who couldn't be part of it. Hollywood wasn't optional. It was the goal. And anything that threatened it was a problem to be solved. That includes people. The woman says she grew up with fragments, half memories, a sense that she didn't fully belong anywhere. She describes visits that didn't last, faces that felt familiar but never stayed long enough to explain themselves. If true, that creates a chilling picture: a child kept just close enough to be controlled, just distant enough to be denied. And then there's Joe Giuliano. For years, skeptics asked the same question: if this was real, why didn't he talk? The answer being offered now isn't loyalty, it's pressure. According to statements attributed to his side, he was young, outmatched, and boxed in by legal language he didn't fully understand at the time. NDAs, warnings, emotional leverage dressed up as responsibility. He was allegedly told silence was protection, not just for Meghan's future, but for the child herself. And silence worked for decades, until it didn't. Because NDAs don't age well, and they don't survive when the person they're meant to erase grows up and starts asking questions. That's the shift insiders say Meghan's team didn't anticipate. A secret is manageable when it's an idea. It's unmanageable when it's a person with agency. The legal questions are already stacking up. If the woman was placed informally, not through an airtight termination of parental rights, then under California law, this becomes complicated fast. Inheritance, back support, emotional damages, discovery. And discovery is where everything unravels. Because discovery doesn't care about branding. Suddenly, every deal matters. Every declaration, every sworn document signed over the years that stated 2 children instead of 3. Every background check, every official form completed during the royal vetting process, which brings the palace back into the picture. The theory gaining momentum is uncomfortable for everyone involved. Either the checks failed or the truth was managed. And if it was managed, that reframes everything that came after. The tension, the sudden exits, the paranoia about leaks, the lawsuits framed as protection but executed as control. It starts to look less like rebellion and more like preemptive defense. And then there's Prince Harry. Because no version of this story leaves him untouched. If he didn't know, then his entire public posture collapses. This speech is about honesty, the fury at his own family, the moral high ground he claimed. All of it dissolves the moment it becomes clear he was defending someone else's lie. But if he did know, then this stops being tragedy and becomes collaboration. Critics watching closely say his recent behavior, withdrawn appearances, forced smiles, physical distance, feels less like media pressure and more like someone realizing too late that the ground under him isn't solid. There are unconfirmed whispers that he's not sleeping at the house, that legal consultations are happening separately, that conversations are no longer united, because once fraud enters a marriage, everything changes. Custody, assets, reputation, narrative control, and custody is the quiet bomb in all of this. this. Because if one child was allegedly abandoned, critics argue that argument will be weaponized. Fitness, stability, patterns of behavior. Nothing stays theoretical once lawyers get involved, which is why the silence from Montecito has been so precise. No denial. No clarification, no emotional appeal, just waiting. And waiting only makes sense if you're trying to negotiate, not explain. Meanwhile, Buckingham Palace has done something unexpected. Nothing. No briefings, no background comments, no anonymous aides rushing to contain damage. According to insiders, King Charles III isn't panicking, he's pausing. Because from a strategic perspective, this isn't a crisis, it's a release valve. For years, the monarchy has been accused of cruelty for enforcing boundaries. Now, if these allegations harden into evidence, boundaries become necessity. Titles stop being personal, they become constitutional. And that changes everything. The most explosive angle isn't emotional, it's administrative. If Meghan entered royal life under materially false declarations, the legitimacy of everything that followed comes under review. Not revenge, not punishment, procedure. And procedure doesn't care how loud the backlash is. Back in California, the focus is already shifting toward money, because if the woman's legal standing holds, she isn't just a headline. She's a claimant, a third branch to an estate that was never designed to include her. And estates don't divide quietly. Deals once meant for 2 children suddenly look different when divided by 3. And according to sources tracking the situation, that's when things allegedly turned frantic. SUVs, meetings, outreach attempts framed as reconciliation but structured like containment. The woman's response, relayed through counsel, has been consistent. No NDAs, no private jets, no closed-door conversations designed to reset the story. She isn't asking for a deal. She's asking for acknowledgement. And acknowledgement is the one thing money can't buy retroactively. The final fracture point may come from Joe Giuliano himself. Claims are circulating that journals exist. Notes. Contemporaneous writing from the 1990s that allegedly detail conversations, pressure, and choices made with ambition front and center. If those surface, they don't just support a claim, they establish pattern. And patterns are deadly in court. The media mood is already shifting. Defenders are quiet. Invitations are disappearing. Agencies are said to be reassessing risk. Reputation management doesn't mean saving, it means distancing. Because Hollywood loves success, but it hates liability. And this story is nothing but liability. What happens next isn't redemption or exile, it's exposure, depositions, timelines reconstructed by people who don't care about fairy tales. And at the center of it all is a woman who says she spent 29 years invisible and decided she wouldn't be anymore. The irony is brutal. The story that may end the Sussex brand isn't about race or press or protocol, it's about truth catching up. And truth doesn't negotiate. This isn't the end of the story. It's the point of no return. The point of no return. The point of no return. The point of...